What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of whatever the heck we're doing on Thursdays here. Today, we're talking all about migrating your client billing away from Webflow to Stripe. And this is because they just announced that they're sunsetting their entire client billing program by the end of summer. And so lots of people have been wondering, well, what do I do with all my client billing accounts? So we're going to talk about it today. Actually got a special guest here today, so we're gonna no delay. We'll just bring Aaron in. We'll just bring him in right from the get-go here. You know, no sense in holding you back a little bit. What's up, Joe? What's up, Aaron?
Hey.
Hell.
Joe, go.
Yeah, I'm excited. 3 people on the stream today, and I'm really excited to have Aaron. We've been following Aaron for a long time. We love his content, and I think he's going to bring a really nice knowledge to this conversation. So, Aaron, really happy to have you here.
Yeah, excited to be here. And honestly, truly an honor to be, kind of speaking about, it's interesting that I'm here to talk about Stripe and Webflow. But yeah, really excited. So for folks who don't know what I do, I run Automate All the Things, which is a weekly live stream helping folks build workflows on no code. And 2 tools I use, 3 tools I guess I use all the time is Airtable, Webflow, and Stripe. So yeah, when I heard that client billing was being sunset, I was like, oh yeah, feel like we can build a really cool workflow helping folks came to you guys, and obviously you were interested in showing it off. So yeah, really excited to be here, talk about just the Stripe part, just the bare basics of it, helping people understand. And then next week we'll do the workflow part of it. How do you actually, implement a better client billing due to this migration? So yeah, recognize a bunch of names: Penny, Tony, Colleen. Really appreciate coming out to say hi. But yeah, excited to be here.
Nice. And this is kind of a cool moment, I think, for me because Aaron's been doing streams for a long time. And Finsweet has been kind of working with Aaron on some of those streams, and I think that was happening long before I came into the picture. And so it's funny, I've been watching Aaron streams for a long time. We actually met out in San Francisco at the same time at the first No Code Conf. So just to point out the way things come full circle. This stuff has been years in the percolation of the background and stuff, and so it's kind of fun to just be here live streaming together. So let's take a quick round through the chat and see who's here with us. What's up, Daniel Brasnio? Isa, going to be my first live. Well, welcome. Listen to all the podcasts. Love the show. Wow. Okay. We love that. Welcome. And thanks for joining us. Let's see. Kamran, nice profile picture. I think it's right time to change it across platforms. Yeah, I think I need to actually update it on this one. YouTube's the only one with a different profile picture. Let's see. Tony Seats in the house. Christopher Coleman is here. What's up? Greg Dolan, John Saxon, CJ is here. Hello, hello. Darren Sims, Tanette, what's up? Sameh, what does Webflow think about that? I don't know. They probably think it's okay because they're the ones that kind of sunset the program. So Penny's here. Michael Arianto. Hello. Juan Cardona. Wow, so many people here. Hello, Colleen. Mark Tiedman. What's up? All right. Let's get into it. Keep the comments coming as we go. What's our audience prompt today? Do we have any disclaimers or... we do. Yeah. One disclaimer real quick. We did an episode on this just recently about why you want to control your client billing. So for whatever reason, just go back. If you want more context on why we're doing this episode here, go back and check out episode number 61. And real quick, do you have this up on your screen, Aaron? Can we bring this in? I wanted to give a little shout out here to the Webflow Fest, which was just announced. Melissa Mendez and the Webflow Party folks and the Low Coder. I think that's Keith Armstrong, Grace Walker, a bunch of folks. Joseph Berry, Joe Moore Design, Corey Moen. They're all going to be doing this thing that they're calling Webflow Fest. That's Friday, May 13th and May 20th. So get that on your calendar. It's going to be super cool. And let's get into it. So audience prompt. What is the biggest concern with the migration? Do y'all have any concerns? Is there anything that, is holding you back, or that you're just not sure what to do? Let us know in the comments and we'll bring those up as we go. So.
And what do you want to learn here? This is part 1 of a multi-step video series. We're going to go through a lot of different things with client billing this week, next week, and maybe even the week after. So in this video, we're covering Stripe. We're covering how powerful this system is and how it can really serve as the backbone for your payment system. So we're going to be showing what you ask. So if you have a question about Stripe, how it works, how you can take advantage of it, we are here to answer those questions. So please be active in this chat. We're going to be looking at the comments and answering your questions directly.
Yeah, and one of the things we want to make sure we talk a little bit about or just cover here, we didn't have really in this disclaimer here, but that we're going for Stripe. We think Stripe's a better solution. Webflow does have a hookup here with Bonsai. There are other options you could use for this. We're not going to focus on any of those. So we're going to be focusing specifically on Stripe, payment links, how you set up that process. So we're going to walk through specifically off what are the steps to get off of the client billing. There's like 3 core steps you have to take to kind of do that from a technical standpoint. And then we're going to go into walking you through the entire Stripe dashboard and the process of setting up these products, setting up the payment links, customizing the invoices, which is something cool you'll be able to do inside of Stripe that you weren't able to do inside of client billing, and also to let you know about fees and some technical stuff, how to set up some auto rebill features and things like that. So that's kind of a rundown of everything we're going to go through here. So let's just start out by recapping what's happening. The client billing is sunsetting by September of 2022. So Aaron, if you have this up, there we go. So anybody who's using this, if you hadn't heard, Webflow's just like, it's over, they're focusing attention in other places. If you watch the live stream, Vlad discussed this a little bit yesterday. So if you want a little context from Webflow on why they're doing this, obviously this is not Webflow's core business model, creating a payment and invoicing system. And so they're going to step out of that arena. And one of the things that is requiring is obviously the migration of all of these accounts away from client billing. So again, we have an episode that we did, that's episode number 61 that you can watch if you want more context here. And Webflow did talk about this. Vlad and Nelson talked about this yesterday on their live stream if you want some details from them. So let's walk through the 3 steps you have to do. Well, actually there's a 4th step. So let's walk through these different steps. The first thing you need to do is figure out who you're gonna use for payment stuff. Right? Are you going to go with Bonsai? Okay, well then you probably don't need to be watching this because we're talking about Stripe. Are you have another billing system? Are you going to integrate it with your QuickBooks directly? Whatever. So step number 1, you kind of got to decide what payment solution you want to use. Aaron or Joe, do you want to give any thoughts on why we think Stripe is the right bet here? Actually, let's save that. That's for the next segment. Let's save that. Let's just run through these 3 steps for Webflow here. So step 1, you got to download all after you decide what you're going to do, you have to download all your billing history. So you want to make sure you have this because once you delete your client billing site from your account, once you delete your client billing step, which are the next 2 steps after this, you won't be able to access any of these invoices. So let's say one of your clients comes back and they say, hey, we want copies of invoices from way back when. You will not have this if you do not download these invoices. So after you decide where you're going to go, as you start planning this, the first thing you want to do is go into your clients that have client billing and download some of these just for archival purposes. You may never need them. This may be something you throw away in a few years, whatever, but you probably want to have them just in case something happens, because once you get out of the system, you will not be able to go back and get them. Once you get those invoices, then you need to cancel the client billing on a per project basis. Okay, so once you've got the invoices out, then you need to go on each project that has this, and as you make this migration, you need to cancel that billing on each of those projects individually in your client billing settings inside of that account. Right? And what Aaron's walking you through is the specific instructions. Victoria, maybe if this link is not already in the description, maybe we can get this article linked in the description so that it's all there. So anybody who's watching this, all the stuff's going to be in the description. Once you delete all those, once you cancel all the little client billing accounts on a per project basis, then you can delete your overall client billing account. That's your account, right? So when you set up client billing, you first set up a client billing account. That's where you put your payment credentials. That's where you put your tax information. And that's the information Webflow uses to create the 1099 and send you all the information. From there, then you create the individual client billing accounts. And so we're just doing this in reverse to get rid of them, right? So you've deleted the client accounts on each one, then you delete your account. And then from there, it's off to the races. You do whatever you want. In this process, you do have to figure out how to handle the hosting. We obviously can't walk you through that. That's a process you have to do manually. So you have to come up with some kind of workflow for managing those clients' expectations, walking them through this transfer process, and then, obviously getting them into these payment links. You may want to keep everything where it is. This is why it's good that Webflow is giving you some time. Set up these Stripe payment links, get some basic things set up, maybe start invoicing them a month ahead, and then make this transition over that time where you've already got some money from them. You've got the payment set up on Stripe, so you're receiving the payments. That's not attached to your Webflow hosting. Then you can go do all this stuff, right? Because then you can maybe already bring it over. That way, when you have to pay Webflow for the hosting in the meantime, you've already got some money from the clients and you make that transition a little smoother. But that's kind of the part you got to figure out on your own. So Joe, any thoughts there on just kind of, I know we ran through a bunch of that process there, but any thoughts on just those steps from Webflow to take this out, or any advice you might want to give folks?
Well, you have to handle it on your own part. A lot of that is discussed in episode 61 of F and Growth. We talked a lot about how you can approach your clients to make this change regardless of the platform you choose to switch to. And it's not easy. It's going to be a little difficult. And if you're curious about it, go back to 61 and listen to that. This episode is all about Stripe and getting set up on that platform.
Yep, great.
And maybe that goes right into why Stripe is a better option for your business.
Yeah.
Which I totally agree with. I am on board with that statement. I think it's amazing when a platform works really well for a tiny business and it works really well for a gigantic business. This is Stripe. You can use Stripe making $1,000 for the whole year. You can use Stripe making millions and millions and millions of dollars. And most of our favorite platforms that accept payments are using Stripe. So when you go and use Stripe, you're now accessing the source. Webflow Client-Billing was run through Stripe. So now we're just cutting out that service and we're going right to the source. So I have a huge amount of respect for Stripe. We are building our infrastructure of community payment and product payment at Finsweet on Stripe. It's a very important platform for us. And yeah, I just think it's the number one out there.
Yeah.
Aaron, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, well, you have two different sides of business on this stream. You have Joe, who runs a real business that, builds and runs the gamut of Stripe products. And then you have me, who runs a tiny automate all the things business. And it is true that we use the same basic infrastructure. And I think that's what's exciting. I think you put it well. Like, you can build a payment link, it's up in 30 seconds. And then if it takes off, you can say like, oh, well, I want to create, actual billing in my website and things like that. So, what I'm hoping to show today is like those baby steps, but know that this can scale to whatever your business scales. And it's really simple to stand up and get started. So yeah, it's always cool to know that you're using the same thing that massive businesses use. And that gives you, crazy amounts of flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
And scalability. Scalability, right? You start one place, maybe you're on that straight line and you never grow. Maybe you have massive growth year after year. Stripe is going to be there with you for every step.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's take a quick look at some of these comments here. Tony Seats is saying simplicity and security is paramount to great client experience. Webflow's payment link was easy mode. I agree. I think it was a cool feature when they started. Again, we talked about this all in episode 61, so we don't want to get deep into this. I think you'll see that the Stripe payment links are super easy too, and the ability to customize them and tack on like your freelancing hours or maintenance stuff or whatever and control that a little more easily on the Stripe backend. I think you'll see it's super easy too. So Shashi is saying, can I use RoserPay, Paytm, PayUmoney? There are lots of ways you can probably do this. I don't know if those things integrate with Stripe. Again, we're focusing only on Stripe today. So Juan Cardona is saying, I want to learn how to get as much value as I can from Stripe without getting yet another subscription service. As good as they are, they add up. I don't think there's any real subscription cost here. There's just a transaction fee cost, right? So there's a payment processing fee and a per transaction kind of fee, but there's no like ongoing subscription cost here. And I think their fees are pretty reasonable. Just like payment processing was like a 3% fee, I think, Aaron.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think there's a 50-cent per charge, 2.9 if I'm not mistaken. We've got CJ who can like really dial in the exact fees, but you can always add them on top, whatever your fees are, and so you can kind of bundle it all into one payment.
Yeah, and shout out to CJ from Stripe who's in the chat listening, and we'll be here if we get into the weeds on anything and we need to know. Mo Ice, hello from Bosnia. What's up? I think this might be our first Bosnia reporting in on the stream, so welcome. Let's see, anything else? Okay, from Amsterdam, hello. All right, great. Okay, let's get into it. Let's jump right into this section here. Stripe is a better option. We feel that. Okay, so using Stripe links as a replacement solution. Let's jump into that. Aaron, we're going to jump back into your screen here again. First thing we're going to do is maybe just walk through a little bit of a Stripe dashboard. Okay?
Yeah.
So why don't you take us through what are we looking at here and just let people know a quick pass through on the Stripe dashboard.
Yeah, and I think as I'm doing this, what I'd love to hear, and this will kind of affect what I show in terms of what Stripe possibilities are, is like, what do you bill your clients? Do you just build the Webflow hosting? Do you have a retainer model? Do you do hourly? Like, what is your model? Drop it in the chat. And then I'll kind of show how Stripe can be interesting for that specific use case, right? When we get into like, how do we actually bill clients? So yeah, let me know in the chat. In terms of dashboard, really, this is like a super simple, you can get a sense of your sales, how many customers. I'm just in test mode right now. How much you're spending per customer, any issues. And I think what's great about Stripe is they'll also handle any fraud or things like that and alert you to situations directly on the dashboard. Now, I think it's important to remember that like most of you are not going to be living out of a Stripe dashboard, right? Like you want to set up something and know that it comes up so you can kind of look at this dashboard on a regular basis. And this dashboard is useful for recurring businesses, right? So when you think of Webflow hosting, which is going to be a recurring charge, retainers, but also on a per kind of invoice basis if you're doing hourly as well. So dashboard, super simple, and you can kind of always access the underlying information in other tools. So it's quite simple. I'm happy to like walk through any specific, but frankly, I spend very little time in this dashboard because I just want the payment and kind of not worry about it.
Yeah, I think we just want to give people a little glance at what their like landing experience is going to be here as they jump into Stripe, and then also let people know that this is what we're going to do next week on Aaron's stream is kind of show you how to manage some of this, so you don't have to live in this dashboard, and you can have maybe a little bit more granularity on seeing the specific clients, seeing their current payment status, seeing how it all relates. And so we're going to, again, the next phase here is we're going to show you how to create a product in Stripe. We're going to show you how to create the payment link in Stripe. We're going to show you how to customize the invoice. And then we're going to talk about some fees and some tricks for auto rebilling, et cetera, inside of here. But then the stream next week, we're going to take these, pull them into Airtable as clients, and then build some automations and stuff so you can send emails for reminders to pay, or let them know that, hey, your payment was missed, and we're going to turn your website off. The kind of things that Webflow was automating with their client billing stuff. We're going to show you how to do that next week. So again, let's walk through. We're in the Stripe dashboard. Let's start with the creating a product in Stripe, which is step one, right, Aaron?
Yeah. So I think it's important to remember that Stripe is fundamentally like not a no-code product, but it is a first principles type product. What that means is it'll give you access to first principles to be able to build whatever payment you want. So when I think about Webflow, right, and what Webflow billing did, right, is it let you say, I want to charge this customer this amount every month on a recurring basis. And that was variable. So what that meant is you could charge just the hosting cost, or you could charge $200, right? Or $500. And then Webflow would send that and take the credit card and manage it and all that, right? That's not the only business model, right? So you might say like, oh, I want to charge a $30 every month for the hosting, but then maybe on top of that, 10 hours of, consulting, or I want to split out my retainer versus the payment. So what I want you to kind of think about is what are those first principles in Stripe? And then at its core, you are selling a product, right? So what that means is you're saying Webflow hosting is a product. My hourly rate is a product. Every product has multiple prices associated to it. So I'm just going to start there by saying, okay, let's go build out the products that we need in Stripe for our business. Initially, let's, as an example, and again, let me know in the chat if this is different for what you're billing. we're just going to say, okay, I want to charge the $30 or $50 that I forget what Webflow hosting costs. $20 USD, I think.
There's varying prices. I think the biggest thing, this could also be a good time for you as a freelancer to think about standardizing some pricing or some packaging, just like Webflow did. So instead of worrying about what Webflow's cost is, and we're getting a question here from Naked Tech who's saying, please show us how to take a percentage. This is exactly what we're saying here is these products, right? So you could create these products that is basically like a monthly Webflow hosting. And you could call that $50 a month if you wanted, or $100 a month, or whatever you want. And that's what Aaron's going to show us how to build here. So now that becomes the core product. So you don't have to worry about taking a percentage of the specific order. You're kind of building in your cost into that product, and you're baking in that Webflow hosting into that. So if you're paying $16 a month or $25 a month, or if they're on business hosting and it's $75 a month, or whatever plan there are on, you want to have a product that kind of matches that and then adds your fee on top of. And so that's what's Aaron going to show us how to, and maybe there's just a flat fee where's a pass through, and then you add your costs on top. So maybe your product is a $200 a month package. That's a product. And then you can have a straight Webflow pass through, and you say, hey, customer, here's your Webflow billing cost. It's exactly what Webflow charges. And then here's my cost. And so now you can have a breakdown and they can see that. So it depends on how you want to set it up. But these products we're going to walk through that Aaron's going to show us how to build here in Stripe can be set up however you want to cover those types of expenses. And then Naked Atlas is asking, what's the difference between Stripe and Stripe Atlas? Stripe Atlas is a whole different world, I believe, isn't it? That's like a way bigger, higher level service, I think, than
so Atlas lets you incorporate businesses. So it's just a way to easily incorporate your business. And then Stripe is the payment kind of that has a bunch of products underneath.
Great.
So let me actually walk through like the product creation, which is the first step, right?
Yeah. So there's one thing. There's one thing I wanted to also, before you jump in, fairly new to these different. Luke is saying here, could you use Stripe and do something like MemberStack, or are they different? MemberStack also uses Stripe. This would depend on if you wanted to create a dashboard or something like that, then you could use a MemberStack or a Wiz or whatever system you wanted for a private dashboard for the client. But that's what you would use something like MemberStack for. The payment and the link is something totally different. That's just between you and Stripe. And Aaron, we can jump right into creating that product now.
Yeah. So I've got into products, right? And let's imagine I just want to pass through Webflow hosting. That's my first product. It's a pass through, like I'm just going to charge, right? So I can create a first product. Let's call this Webflow hosting. Right? Let's give this, this is for Webflow hosting. And let's put this under services. And I want this to be a standard. I want it to be recurring. And we're now creating our first price. So let's say, our first one is $30 USD on a monthly basis. You could imagine annual, whatever. What's interesting again about Stripe is they have like every type of pricing that you imagine on the web is able to be built in. But let's just start very simply like that. Let's save that product, right? And now I have Webflow hosting as a product, and I have one price associated to Webflow hosting, right? I have $30 a month. It's right here. But you mentioned that Webflow offers different types of hosting, business, right? So you can add multiple prices. So let's say there's business at 75, recurring monthly, adding that. So now I have both options. So depending on my customer, I can switch out the price just so I can be very transparent and say, hey, this is how much Webflow hosting costs. And there was a question around, fees. So if you want to bake in the fees, you just calculate what this is going to cost you and you add it on top. So you can edit. I can probably edit. So let's say, I'm not going to do the math because I suck at math, but let's say it's 78. You just add those fees on top of your Stripe. So then you're kind of passing on the true cost of Webflow onto that user. And now, like, your products are in here, right? So I just want to start with like very simply passing through this pricing. So then, right, you might think of like, how do I make that customer pay this product? Now, very kind of important to think about. I don't know how in the week. Let's actually just do it. Let's do it once, and then I'll talk about like the first principles approach here and the kind of thinking through what Stripe does in the back end. That's important for if you want to scale your business. So I want a way to send a link to my customer and say, hey, I'm really happy that we went with Webflow. Here's the cost of that. Can you put your credit card in here? Know that this is going to be charged every month from here on forward, right? So in Stripe, we're going to go to more. We're going to create a payment link. So payment link is a page that is hosted by Stripe that will take that customer's payment information associated to a certain product. Sorry, the page is associated to a certain product, and it'll associate that payment to that customer and give you that information in Stripe and charge that customer on a recurring basis. So let's create a payment link. I'm going to create a new one. And then I think about what product do I want to add? I can imagine which, let's do the 78 a month. There is the ability to collect tax automatically. I'm not a pro. There's a whole session on tax on the Stripe developers YouTube channel, which talks. So we're going to assume we're not collecting tax because we're offsetting this with the cost from Webflow, right? We are not going to let customers adjust quantity. Just going to do next. They're not going to split. So there's actually, if you have a marketplace where people are referring business to you, you can actually split payment. I did a stream with CJ on how to use marketplaces in Stripe. So if you're interested in that, check that out. And that's it. We're going to create a link. And now we can go ahead and copy this link. And this is a hosted page for that specific product. If I come here, it's telling me, hey, you can subscribe. And this is the customer entering the information so that they can pay you for the Webflow hosting. It's only going to happen once. So it's actually much more secure than taking their credit card over the phone or whatever. You have a hosted stripe.com hosted link that you can send them. So let's enter my information. I'm going to say Webflow hosting just so we can recognize me. I test a lot. For folks who are unfamiliar with Stripe, the test credit card is 4242424242. And then whatever information you want. 3, name on card, Aaron Cornblatt Webflow. Put my zip. Then subscribe. Now, a lot is happening here. It's going to take a moment here just because I have a few webhooks. A lot happens here. One thing that happens is that it creates this customer in Stripe, right? What it does as well is that it takes the payment. It takes the first payment. It also associates that credit card with that customer. And from here on out, if this is where we get a little geeky, if anyone's interested, it actually creates a series of future invoices that will be automatically paid by this customer with the card on file. So when you think about one of the challenges is I just want to do this once and have a series of payments be kind of collected. Now, Stripe has a tool, has a product called invoicing, and it's actually using that product in payment links to subsequently take payment. Now, irrelevant to most folks here, but really interesting how it's built behind the scenes. So now if I go to customers, I see that new customer, right? Let me just make sure that it works. Yeah, there we go. Then if I go to subscriptions, I see that I have that active subscription for that customer, which is associated, and I have a series of invoices that will be billed automatically. So just with this, I've actually just kind of handled my problem. This customer is going to pay me every 28th of the month. It's going to pay me $78, and I could pass on those costs to Webflow kind of payment in my credit card as well. I think that's everything I wanted to show for now in terms of just setting up, but I'm happy to go from here and ask questions and answer things like that.
I think this is a good point just to take a look and say then you can store these payment links. You can create a bunch of payment links. You can put them into your email marketing software to have automated reminder emails for folks, or that if you want to create a sequence so that you batch send all your client first, let's say you are going to migrate from Webflow Client-Billing and you want to create some kind of workflow where you want to batch all these communications and create links and then do this all at once. You could do that, where you just batch send out these links and everyone gets the payment page, and people trust Stripe. So again, I don't think people are going to have a hard time if you say, hey, and we'll talk a little bit towards the end here about having this conversation with the client. So we want to talk a little bit about that. But maybe Aaron, we could from here, we'll look and see if we have any questions. But can we show people how to customize the invoice? And let's say there's something that month they need to add to something, or they need to add some hours, because this is one of the flexibilities you did not have with Webflow Client-Billing. You could just set like a fixed fee and say, hey, I'm going to charge Webflow invoicing or Webflow billing is $26. I'm going to charge you $50, and it was flat. You didn't have any ability to modify it. So let's show with this Stripe, while we're in the groove on Stripe here, how they can, let's say they have 10 hours of maintenance they want to add to this invoice, or they have some kind of consulting fee that they want to add on. Can we show that as well?
Yeah. So I think that comes back to what I'm hearing is like, okay, I have a different plan than just payment flat fee, right? I think it comes back to what Joe was saying at the beginning, is you have this flexibility when it comes to how you think of your business. So let's imagine that my business is a flat fee for the hosting and then a bank of hours that you can use, right? So let's say 10 hours, 15 hours, and those are paid upfront, right? So then coming back to first principles, I'm selling a new product, right? The new product that I'm selling is my consulting fee. So I'm going to go ahead and add a product. I'm going to call this, Webflow consulting, but it could be development, call it whatever you want. I'm going to put this under services. And then I could actually set different prices, right? So let's say the first one I'm saying, okay, I'm a good Webflow. I don't think there are a lot of like automate all the things people in the chat, but they know how terrible of a designer I am. So I would never be able to charge $200 an hour for Webflow stuff. But I know that you guys are really good, so you can. So I'm going to put myself in your shoes. Okay, so it's a one-time. Did I put one-time recurring? One time, there we go. Let's save that product. And so Webflow Consulting, $200, that's my first product. And I could add multiple prices. So let's say I build a friend, and I only charge that friend $50 an hour. They know how terrible I am at designing. So I have two prices now. Now, if one of my packages is Webflow Business Hosting plus 10 hours, and another one might be Webflow Hosting plus 50 hours, I need to create a payment link for every one of my tiers, such that the user goes to that URL, understands that tier, it's what we agreed on, fills out the payment information. I receive my one-time payment, and then Stripe handles that recurring invoicing. So again, payment links are hosted pages for specific products at a specific quantity. So from here, we're going to go ahead and add a second payment link. We're going to create a new one. And then I'm saying, okay, I want Webflow Consulting. My package is 10 hours. I'm not going to let that customer adjust that quantity. And, if you're paying the 200, you're probably on the kind of high tier of Webflow hosting. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and add that. I'm not going to collect tax. And there, I have my payment link. I can look at the confirmation page. I can adjust a few things. Click next. Create the link. I don't want to split. Sorry, went too quickly there. Create that link. And great. Now I have another tier. So my second tier is 10 hours of Webflow consulting plus a recurring cost of the Webflow hosting. So what's going to happen if someone pays this? It's going to create a new customer in my page. It's going to charge them that $2,000. That will be paid out to me according to when Stripe receives the funds. And the more you use Stripe, the faster that will be. And then it's going to create a series of invoices that will be automatically paid by that customer on a monthly recurring basis. So I'm happy to do it again. So
I think we're good on the. I think we're good on what happened there. I think something else people can think about too is that what you should probably want to do here is on the reoccurring thing. Like, let's say you have this monthly consulting and that maybe changes and fluctuates. Maybe you don't need to create a package for that. What you do is you send them the payment link. That's the reoccurring monthly invoicing for the hosting, and then each month you send them a new payment link. You can create a payment link in here that takes up a product and multiplies it by the number or quantity of that product, and send that custom payment link out to somebody just for that month's worth of work. So if you needed to build somebody for 8 hours this month, their hosting can be set up to kind of automatically bill and do that thing in the background, and then you can just send a different payment link out for X number of hours at whatever quantity, and use a different link for that too.
And I think this is where there's some interesting things that Stripe enables you to do when you have this type of business that's different month to month, right? And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but you can also send an invoice, right, for a set number of hours of products for that existing customer. And if the customer says, oh, like, we agree on this quantity, just charge it on my card, you can also, by clicking a few places, create a default payment for that customer and not even send them an invoice and just charge their card on file, right? So there's that ability to send invoices, so that it's like, oh, this month we did 10 hours, here's an invoice, right? Or a payment link, whatever you prefer. Or you can also say like, hey, I've done 10 hours. Can I get your A-OK to charge the card on file? Great. You generate an invoice. They just receive a payment confirmation, and then it's all done. And it's all from the Stripe dashboard. So yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead, Joe.
I think you can see that you can build your whole business on this. Whereas Webflow Client-Billing, I think it was really based in paying for Webflow hosting, right? It's connected to the hosting account. I know a lot of people added extra on top of that, maybe to pay for other services, but there's really not that much customization available. And as we just saw here, you're able to do everything here. You can even charge for the initial website development. So before the hosting even starts, hey, this is a $500 project. We're going to do 50% up front, 50% on delivery. And you can use Stripe right from the beginning. It's not just for hosting or just for a consulting hour for setting up the hosting. You can do everything here.
Yeah.
I also want to call out how beautiful that payment page is. Hello. That is nice. I mean, you get the brand colors, you get the brand logo. This certainly looks better than Webflow's payment page. And I think Webflow's payment...
All right. We still...
Did we lose Joe, or did we lose me?
No, Joe's been having a little bit of connectivity issues the last few days, but I want to answer in the same spirit of what Joe was headed on there about the look of this page. Christopher Coleman asked, what's the customizability for the payment links? Can these live in a pop-up modal so the user doesn't leave your website? And the answer coming from CJ at Stripe itself is payment links are all redirect based. There's another product called Payment Element, which requires a bit of JavaScript code. But a follow-up to that is that you can configure the fonts, the colors, the border radius for colors, logo, and a few other brand things. So you can modify some of the aesthetic on that page. And you can also set a custom domain, is what CJ's saying here. So again, direct from the Stripe rep that you can do all those things, but you need a little bit of custom code if you want that to happen in an embed. CJ saying you can also make those consulting hours adjustable by the customer if you want, so they can make the number right. When Aaron was creating the payment link there was a button that he unchecked that said make the customer edit this quantity. If you had a relationship with a customer where they knew, or if they wanted to pre-buy the hours or something, you could send them a link that's just your hourly rate and say, hey, buy your next block of hours or something, buy 5 hours or 8 hours or however many blocks you want. And you can leave that option customizable so that they can go in and set how many hours they want. So Caleb's saying it's very cool. Love how customizable this all is. Correct. I think you'll recognize that there's just a lot of flexibility here, and it's going to be a lot more useful for you than anything you were able to do. Robert's saying it here. I suspect most of us will come to appreciate the power and flexibility of Stripe billing for sure. For sure.
A lot of people have been saying that they want simplicity. They want it to be easy to use, easy for the client to enter, and secure. Stripe is secure. Technically speaking, it is very secure. It is a wonderful, wonderful platform for security. And I think the design and that beautiful payment page also plays into the security, what your clients think of as security. You know, if you send somebody a really ugly payment page and there's a bunch of issues with it and it just doesn't look good, people may be a little hesitant to go and enter their card in that. But they see the Stripe logo, they see this beautiful design, everything looks awesome, and now your client is going to have a different level of confidence going and adding that credit card info in there. So it's really important. It's a whole package.
Yeah, yeah. Let's answer this question from Lizzie here because it goes on some of the customization options. He's asking, can you change the word subscribe on the button to something custom? And that is not an option. So for reoccurring prices, it's fixed to subscribe. But if you're doing one-time payments, you can use book, buy, or donate as the button there. So they're assuming that if you have a reoccurring thing, that the subscribe is reminding the person that they're purchasing something that's reoccurring. Whereas the other ones, you can use the book, buy, or donate call to action. That's more emphasis on a single time purchase. Somebody else was asking, Robert, here's our summary page that shows our forecast, your monthly net income after Stripe's fees. And then CJ is answering, there are some MRR and cohort-based reports on the dashboard. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you want, but we should take this question from Robert to jump into our final point on the Stripe side of things before we go into anything else, which is that the fees are on your end. You know, the fees on all of this are on your end. If you client billing, you didn't pay fees, you know, Webflow didn't charge you fees. I think Webflow was eating those credit card fees. So just remember, 3%, whatever the fees are, whatever else is in here, you want to cover in your pricing as you create these products. So just think about that. Taxes are a thing, fees are a thing. That's all something you're now responsible for. These are the complexities why Webflow is like, we don't really want to deal with this. Because in Europe, they got value-added taxes, and over here, they got other something else, and some other place has, you know, some other thing that you have to do to make it a legally compliant transaction, and that just becomes really complex. So just remember that as you take control of this, you're going to be responsible for all of the communications with the client. One of the biggest concerns here was that Webflow would automatically send these emails and automatically cancel the website or turn off the website. These are things that you'll now have to manage. You'll have to pay Webflow directly. You'll have to invoice the customer for the money. So this now becomes a manual bit of process. But again, this is something you should want to be in control of. You just need to know that these are things now that you have to deal with, and it's stuff now that's coming on your plate that was not there before. So just keep all that in mind as you make these adjustments.
And a really nice comment from CJ here. One way to decrease the processing fees is by using other payment method types like ACH. And yes, you know, if you're receiving a big payment, you're receiving that initial project development cost. Yeah, maybe you don't do credit card there and you go with the ACH route. That's what we do at Finsweet for our big client projects. But now when we're doing community things, we're going to start doing product things. This is all prime for Stripe. Charging for hosting, prime for Stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were a few questions around like what other payment methods can you take versus credit card, right? So if you show my screen, if you go into your settings, you can turn on WeChat, Alipay, bunch of, you know, other kind of European-centric ways of payment, and then bank debit. And I think it also depends on where your business is located. You might have different options here. So yeah, credit cards are not the only route. You can also do banking options and a bunch of others. And like, this is Stripe's job, right? So you can trust that, you know, they're thinking about which payment methods they want to enable next, in a way that Webflow billing probably, you know, didn't necessarily want to or allow because they just were looking for the simplest option. So yeah, much more scalability and flexibility here.
Yeah, nice. Okay, let's. Juan Cardona is asking, with payment links, can you collect shipping addresses? Got a client that sells unique vintage clothes, usually a one piece at a time, thinking of setting minimal e-commerce functionality with this. I believe there was an option there to collect an address, right, Aaron, when you were going through that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So you can put as an option to collect, you know, address information, and you could easily, and this will do on the next week stream, generate a payment link automatically based on whether it's new Webflow CMS item creation or new Airtable record. Like, create a payment link for that item, and that's perfect if you're selling unique items, like this person is in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. pop-up window when client leaving site, for example, reserve your web design offer 50%, which people can pay for up front of the project. You might not lose them. Yeah, I don't know that that's a purchase people make on impulse that you're going to like spur with an exit intent. You could put like an exit intent thing with a click to a payment link or something like that, but I'm not sure that would actually be a super effective mechanism for conversions.
Maybe coupon code.
Yeah, right.
You're leaving, you get a coupon code and says, hey, someone reaches out and says, I'm interested. I got this coupon code. Can I use it? But yeah, you could do that with Stripe. That's the cool part. You know, even if we may not recommend doing that on your site, you can do it. That's the beautiful part about it. There's just so much flexibility. You can really take control of that entire payment flow.
Yeah. Melissa Mendez in the house. Hello. We mentioned your Webflow, what was it? The Webflow Fest. Mentioned that earlier in the stream. So yeah, go back and check that out. Let's go through to the automatic reoccurring payments, because that's, I think, something that people will want to know a little bit about. Aaron, can we go into those settings that we looked at, settings, billing, automatic page?
Yes, let me just bring that up. Let me get the link here. Here we go. Yeah, so this is the idea that you also want Stripe to auto kind of rebill, right? So let's say you have an upcoming renewal, you can have Stripe send those emails for you, both for upcoming renewals, expiring cards. Stripe will also manage retrying cards. So what that means, if a payment fails for whatever reason, they will use their smart retries. And they can also kind of handle the payment, the email to the customer of like, hey, your payment failed, FYI. Now, if you don't feel comfortable having Stripe email your customer and just want to be notified about it, that's something we'll do next week in the stream, where at a more, I guess, more first principles levels and a more coding principle, Stripe will send you a webhook to say, hey, this customer, their payment failed. And you can capture that and say, okay, this is what I do when this happens, right? I send a custom email or I call them, whatever it is. You can automate something that has, you know, your look and feel. But also, if you're just like, hey, I can't be bothered, which is totally understandable, you can also have Stripe send emails on your behalf.
Yeah. We're getting a question actually here that's related to that. Aaron, how far in the weeds will you be going on your automations for this?
Tony, as in the weeds as you want, right? But I think what I always think about is like, what is the 90% use case, right? And I think the 90% use case is I have a list of customers, right? And I have an understanding of what payment plan they should be on or that they're currently on in Webflow billing, right? So you have your customers, you have your plans, right? Which is what you're currently creating in Webflow billing. What you want to create is a payment link that mirrors each one of those plans, and then create a payment link for each one of those potential plans and send them out to that customer, and then keep the status of that customer up to date. Have they paid? Have they failed? So really, I think that kind of encompasses the like 90% of situations that folks will fall on. But then you have situations where like, oh, I want to track hours that I've worked and send invoices, you know, things like that. That's definitely possible. But I think at a very small level, we want to do, here's my list of customers. Here's what I offer. Here's how I migrate. And I know the status of every one of those customers. And from there, the world is your oyster to do whatever you want. Like, I want this to happen when someone fails or things like that. That's really where you as like the workflow builder can build from there. Does that make sense, Tony?
Nice. He's saying, never mind, you got me.
We have a question from Caleb.
Yeah.
And I'll ask, Aaron, maybe you know this, maybe we need CJ for it. Can you take ACH payments with Stripe? And
I don't know.
How easy is that?
Yeah, so I'm a new American. I only moved to the States like a month ago. I've heard ACH payments more in the last 4 weeks than I have in my whole life. And I still don't know exactly what those are. So I'm gonna let CJ answer the ACH questions. Like I had never heard the acronym ACH until 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, so maybe CJ can answer that as he goes through. We'll, in the meantime, we'll bring up Disruptive Social saying, been waiting for this. We have over 80 sites on client billing. Yeah, that's tough.
Well,
That's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of folks to have the conversation with.
and Disruptive Social, are you leaning towards Stripe? Is this a decision that you've made? Are you going to move forward with a particular provider? I'm really interested to see how you handle this 80 site migration, because it's a big job. But I think if you choose the right platform, it will be good long term.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, CJ saying, yeah, but I don't know if that's to the ACH thing. I think he's talking to Mark Tiedman here. So, all right, let's jump into a little bit of how to have this conversation, Joe. You know, like let's talk a little bit about, you know, having to bring this up with clients. I know we talked about this a little bit on the, you know, the last live stream about why you should control your client billing, but let's talk a little bit about, you know, just how to be direct. I think emphasizing that these changes are coming from Webflow and maybe using this as an opportunity to start a conversation with their customer that maybe they don't talk to a lot. Maybe some that's been on auto payment for a while, and maybe this is an opportunity to, you know, respark a conversation about, hey, let's take a look at what you need. Is there anything else, you know, we can do? Maybe this is a time to sell some hours or some updates or a page refresh or something, you know? So, Joe, how does somebody best approach this with their customer first? And then how can they maybe spin this into an opportunity to drive some more revenue from a relationship that maybe has been sitting dormant for a while?
Sure. The first thing I think you need to do is be clear about why this change is happening. Don't just say, hey, we're going to change, and that's it. You can say Webflow is getting rid of this feature. We were using it with Webflow. Now, starting on this date, it's not going to be available. So we have to make a change. There's no option for us. And after you set that stage, I would like to think you can introduce Stripe as the direct payment processor. With Webflow, it was going through Stripe, but now we can go right through Stripe directly. I'm going to create a payment link. I'm going to send it to you. It's going to cover the same hosting that we've been covering thus far. And like you said, this is now the opportunity for you to say, now we offer this SEO package if you're interested. Now I know so much more about Google Analytics. If you want me to set that up for you, I can do that. And it could be a really good way to re-engage that customer, because it happens a lot. You build a site, the client's happy, and they're so happy and you did such a good job, you just don't hear from them for months. So now you can go back and say, let's start talking again. What do you need? What needs to be updated? How can I help you? And when that's packaged with this migration, with this change, it can actually be a good thing.
Yeah, and I want to say, actually, take it one step further than that. If it's been a while, if it's been 6 months, if it's been a year, hey, I noticed it's been a while since we've done anything on your website. Has anything changed in your business? Is there anything we need to update on this website? You know, have you guys opened a new line of business? Or, you know, show them something like, hey, are you guys doing anything with community? Have you thought about adding a membership or a subscription or a portal for your something or other? Or take this as an opportunity to re-engage them with a conversation that, you know, maybe flexes some skills you've learned since you last launched this product with them, or whatever it is, right? Lots of ways to, I think, really spark back. And Aaron, I'd be interested to know if you have any thoughts on, you know, approaching this conversation with folks, anything we've talked about here about like maybe reintroducing a sales opportunity, but any thoughts in general as to how having this tough conversation with the clients.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like general CRM hygiene to be like, hey, if you haven't spoken to someone in 3 months, you know, not any excuse is good, but it's good to just know that fact. So if this is a big wake up of like, I need to speak to all of my customers and you can't tell when was the last time you spoke to them, well, maybe upgrading your workflows a little bit to know that. And I think this is a conversation you have to have, right? There's no going around it. There's no avoiding it. There's no way the customer can say no. So yeah, it's like a perfect opportunity to be like, hey, what have you been up to beyond this? And if you make it really easy, be like, hey, just FYI, here's what you need to fill out, and everything's going to be a-okay the same on your side. You can spend the next 25 minutes of that conversation being like, so what's up, so that's my thinking there.
Yeah, there's two approaches here. You could spin this into like just a procedural update and kind of turn it into an almost nothing burger, where you're just like, hey, we just need to, we're switching the payment processors. It's coming down from Webflow. Here's a new link. We just need to update your credit card on file. You could totally just, this is a business thing, shawhoop, fill out this form, whatever. If they don't click that email, you send another email. And then if they don't click that one, you send another one. And then, whatever. But I would take the Aaron approach here. I think I would use this as just an opportunity to start a conversation again with somebody who's spent money with you. We've been talking about sales. We're always talking about growth. This is a good time to ask for referral. Maybe they're happy with the website. It's been a few months since you've delivered the website and you've got to make these changes now. And so you're like, hey, are you super happy with this website? Do you know anybody else I can help with a website? And that's a great way to just ask for a referral or ask them to introduce you to somebody else that maybe they know, another business owner, somebody else, if they're really in love with their website. These are great opportunities to just rehash those conversations, or maybe have them for the first time if you didn't have them after the sale.
And I think you need to be really clear about nothing is changing in terms of your website. Your website's not going offline. This is not a website migration. This is just how you pay for the hosting migration. Because I can see a lot of clients coming back scared on that first email. Whoa, is there going to be any downtime? Is my website going offline? I see those questions coming, and you don't even want the person to think about that. In that original email, you need to make it clear, website's totally fine. Nothing is going to go wrong. Just how you pay for it is now going to be direct to the provider in Stripe.
Yeah. That's a good question from Fife here, saying, how would you handle starting transition mid-billing cycle? I think this is technical stuff that you just, you need to figure out. Like I said, maybe you bill them a month early in the Stripe. You start that process a month early and you start a whole new billing cycle date with them. I don't know that you can really kind of reconcile all of those dates, and keeping them exactly the same as what Webflow's date was might be tough for that. So I don't know. That may be a little internal bookkeeping. Joe or Aaron, you got any more insight there?
Well, we didn't touch at all about the possibility of doing yearly. Webflow is set up for monthly. So everybody, we keep talking about monthly and monthly. If I'm paying for hosting for my website, I don't want to pay monthly. I want to pay yearly. This is much more easier for me to follow from an accounting perspective. And I bet a lot of your clients will feel the same. So it's really cool that you can now say, well, we have this monthly option and you can pay this. But you get this little discount if you go yearly, which was not possible and not available with the previous Webflow Client-Billing system. So now they get the option, they're excited, they get the little bit of discount, even though maybe you make a little bit more money because you...
We lost Joe.
We did.
But
this is starting to just be a fun thing where I'm just going to start picking up where I think his kind of like, I'm just going to start finishing his sentences as he fades out.
So two things here, actually. CJ mentioned a thing. You can upsell yearly. So there's an upsell option within Stripe, but you can also just make, if you switch to my screen, I've got it up. You can just make yearly pricing one of the options in your payment link, just like you made business different. Right. So instead of just paying on a monthly basis, you go on a yearly basis. And if you're fancy, you can look at the upsell opportunity based on what the person selected. So yeah, very easy, and you can make a little bit of money there as well.
Oh, you fancy, huh?
Yeah.
Colleen's got a good tip here too, actually. She's saying, can this conversation also be a way to open doors to talk about new features that Webflow has been teasing out? So yeah, again, anything that introduces an opportunity to either sell or get the customer excited. Maybe the customer's not super excited about the platform unless they've been looking to do something like that. But I could see, and then you're also selling hype. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, we totally want logic, and then it's not ready yet. So I don't know. Careful how you open those doors as you go. Omkar is threatening Joe. Omkar's ready. He's ready to come at you. He said, I think it's time for a new meme.
Omkar, don't you dare. Don't you hate when you're just so passionate about payment processing and you just go dead on the stream? Unbelievable.
We lost Joe's
That's
audio.
too funny.
No, he's here. He's here.
Oh.
Earlier when he clipped out mid sentence. All right. So the last point I think we had to talk about was why you should not cobble together a makeshift solution, right? Why you should do something like Bonsai, why you should use something like Stripe, why not to do some Zapier dingadoo with the payment link from, some other thing that's like, we're the newest thing with the whatever, like, and having an automation that goes to this and then to that and then Integra grabs that they're making, like, why should we not build? We're in the no code space, Aaron, and we like to automate all the things. So why are we advising folks not to play around with this stuff and some kind of makeshift solution?
Yeah, payment's just weird. Like I remember the web before Stripe, right? And someone would send you a link and you're like, this might not be a good link, right? I might not want to put my credit card information. I know that a lot of people like that are younger don't remember that time of like putting your credit card on the web was like, eating candy off the floor. You would never know not that you should ever eat candy off the floor.
Although sometimes you might.
Yeah, although
especially if you're 3 or 5, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
As an adult, happens probably less often, I think.
Yeah. So I think Stripe really solved the payment issue, and now it's actually accessible to everybody, right? So no matter what your level of proficiency, technically speaking, you can now use Stripe. And so I don't see why you would not use something that has this reputation, and it has the added benefit of like letting you automate all the things. You can create payment links automatically. You can create invoices automatically. It does integrate with Stripe, right? There's a conversation of like, do you want something a little more hand-holdy? I don't know what Bonsai does. I don't know what those other things. And that might be the right route, right? But you might end up with like, this is not flexible enough for my business. It doesn't really mirror the way my payment works or the way I want to bill or to the like showing off my branding to that customer. So there's always that question. But you'll know that with Stripe, you always have that flexibility, and you know that it's like secure to the nth degree, so it can be trusted. So, I wouldn't put my credit card anywhere. 99% of the time I do put my credit card on the web, it's Stripe. So it's got that reputation.
Yeah, something about just seeing that powered by Stripe at checkout that you're just like, okay, I feel a little comfortable putting my money here. Joe, any thoughts there?
Well, I think Stripe has a massive impact on countries that accept it. Stripe is not accessible everywhere, but I know from experience that it's had a massive impact on the U.S. and how payments are handled by businesses. I live in Mexico, and Stripe, it seems like it has just brought on Mexico. Last year when I checked, Mexico is not supported. And the payments here are a mess. Payments work about 50% of the time on the web, and it looks sketchy, and it's really not a good thing. I just don't feel good about it. And they always fail because these companies are not set up with Stripe. So it really limits a lot of businesses, and it hurts a lot of businesses that want to grow online. And I feel this. This is just so close to me. So I'm really passionate about bringing this type of secure and reliable technology to the world.
Yeah.
And I know now that Stripe is accepted in Mexico, I know in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, we're finally going to have good online payment systems here. So it really is, it's the go-to. When I think of payments online, I'm thinking of Stripe. And that type of reputation you can't ignore for any size business.
Yeah, and Christopher Coleman says, because your customer already knows Stripe, you already had to sell them on Webflow, skip the hassle of selling them on some unlabeled, homebrewed liability. So yeah, that goes into what we've talked about here. The other thing, maybe unnamed profile says, but that's not a limit to create something new and better, which I kind of agree with in most instances, unless you're talking about banking, because that shit's hard, you know? So when you're talking about the money stuff, it's like not just everyone gets to go and start a bank, even though I did see this cool little product. There's a new chartered bank called Column that just launched recently, and I saw it. It's a total API first driven product that basically allows products to build their own banking solutions that are tied directly to the Federal Reserve. So unnamed profile, I'm sure people are playing in the finance space. DeFi is happening. Lots of crypto stuff's happening. There is innovation in this space. I think what we're recommending here is you as a no coder, you know, is probably not building custom gateways that are going to be competitive in the financial space. So just don't do it. Literally just don't do it. You know, you can dance around and play and experiment with better stuff in other places. If you're writing code and you can create some secure stuff, even then, there's a reason that most people in Silicon Valley and most people who are building tech products don't build their own payment processing shit. There's a reason they all bake the cake with Stripe or some other solution like it. So just keep that in mind. You're asking for a crazy amount of technical complexity, and not just technical complexity, but legal compliance and oversight and all sorts of stuff that you're just not ready to deal with. Promise you. Okay. There's a good question here from Mark. How do you handle the time frame in between when you started hosting for the client and when the client pays? A couple of days, no problems, but sometimes it's more. Charge more so you can deal with it if you have to eat 15 days or something, or I don't know. Those are business decisions that you got to figure out how to like adjust and deal with the gap. I think maybe you set a target for your clients, just like Webflow did, and you say, hey, we're going to make this switch in the next few months. Here's the link you need to pay. Pay this link before September, and we're going to keep everything in place until September. That way you take the next couple months to get that first payment from them. You can start it at whatever date you want then, right? And then you get all those payments banked up from all your new customers. Maybe you start that on the first day, and then you're off. You've got the first payment of the bank. With the reoccurring stuff, I don't know if that works, but this is a logistics thing that I think each person's going to have to solve independently. I don't know that we can answer this at scale. Any thoughts there, Joe or Aaron?
No, I agree with the answer.
Okay, let's see. Penny's saying you can also build directly through many accounting packages. Most probably use Stripe, or that may be something you can choose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if you're not using Stripe as your primary source of charging for hosting, you're going to want an account and you're going to want to take advantage of it, at least for specific situations. I mean, even though we haven't started using Stripe heavily at Finsweet in the past, let me rephrase this. We have started using Stripe heavily in the past year, but we've had a Stripe account since day one, and we've been using it for all 6 years. So this is a really powerful platform, even if you don't want to take the approach of charging the Webflow hosting on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Melissa brings up a really good point here, because even if you do find some other method that has some of what you need, maybe you don't have everything you need. Whereas you saw how extensible Stripe was, and we didn't even scratch the surface on Stripe. Like that was literally just what you can do in 5 or 10 minutes with payment links. We didn't get into invoicing. We didn't get into their API stuff. We didn't get into the programmatic things that you can do with some of their products. Like they have some, I think Stripe has their own treasury type product stuff where people can build banking infrastructure too, right? So like Stripe goes all the way up, right? It's Turtles all the way up, it's Stripe all the way up, whatever. So yeah, 100% if you're using some other solution, maybe it does what you need in the moment, but what about 6 months from now, or what about a year from now as you scale? Are you going to have this conversation again, or do you want to make the decision now to switch into something that you know is going to give you unlimited ramp to just keep growing? Yeah. Cool.
Totally.
Okay. Any other thoughts? We're pretty close. We're over our hour here. Not that we ever have like a hard limit here, but just be cognizant of the time. as a reminder, we do have a follow-up to the stream next week on Aaron's show. So today we're talking about creating the payment links and working the Stripe background. We've mentioned this a couple times, but next week on Wednesday on Aaron's stream, we will then be showing you how to pull these customers and these subscription data from Stripe into Airtable and managing this stuff so that you can see at a glance who's paid, who's not paid, whose payments maybe have failed recently, whose websites need to be turned off, who's in good standing, whatever, like all these little things. We're going to build you and show you how to automate some of this, some of those communications, and have a little dashboard so that you can see all this. So you'll have your Stripe dashboard to kind of manage the money, but then an Airtable base if you want to dig a little deeper and start seeing what these look like, what these subscriptions look like, and have some kind of dashboard for that. So Aaron, any thoughts there about the stream next week?
No, really excited to, welcome everyone. It'll be Wednesday at 1 p.m. East every week. So I'll drop the link. Might not be clickable, but if folks who have more power in the Finsweet stream, drop the link. So yeah, I do this every week at Wednesdays at 1 p.m. and really want to kind of show people how easy it is. We'll build the base. We'll put customers in there. We'll write a tiny, tiny script that you'll be able to reuse just to know when payments are coming in. And then you can build automations. You can create a dashboard on top. You can create an interface. There's really no limit. Eventually, you can build a Webflow website with member stack. You can do all that stuff. But we'll start with the basics next week. Really simple. Give you guys everything you need to get started. And then, I'm always curious about workflows. So if you have other workflows like, hey, I need a CRM or I'm thinking about this and like that, I stream every week and really curious and love building efficient workflows with everyone.
Nice.
And Finsweet has our client management system on Airtable. That when we send out invoices, we are managing that process. Sent invoices, paid invoices, unpaid invoices, all through Airtable. So yeah, next week's going to be super packed of value. Combining these two platforms, you got to be there.
Yeah. And let's jump here to some comments. Juan Cardona saying, what are some options for invoicing or proposals if we choose Stripe over Bonsai? Stripe actually has their own invoicing tool. So, and everything works nicely together. So again, another reason why you may want to look at Stripe to do some of this. They've got cool, Mark saying invoicing and proposals are possible in Stripe. Great. Mm-hmm. Disruptive Social says definitely tuning into that too. Let's go. Ferdy's Finsweet flexing over here. All right. Great content today. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate you. Roland is saying great information as well. Christopher Coleman, great. Penny, thank you. We appreciate everyone for showing up. Any final words? We'll take it from right to left. Aaron, you got any final thoughts?
No, huge thanks. This was really exciting. I'm so glad that I can offer something that makes your workflow more efficient. And next week we really geek out about it, which is the funnest part. Well, for me anyway. Everyone here watching is like taking payment. I'm more interested in the geek it out stuff, but really appreciate it. Hope you'll have me back one day. Cheers, everyone.
Nice. Joe, any closing thoughts?
Yep. Big thanks for everybody being here. This is an important topic. Stay on it. Don't wait till the last week or two to set this up. Get started right away. Even if you're doing some testing, start this week, start next week. Don't wait. And I'll see you next week.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's see. One final little question from Susan here saying, what about keeping track of hours in Stripe? I'm not sure Stripe is the tool for that. I'd use some kind of better tracking tool. There's all sorts of cool time tracking tools, even down to little devices you can have on your desk that are like hexagons and little dodecahedron, like those weird little shapes that you can flip over, and based on what side's up, it'll track time. So you can have like work time, like I don't know. So if you're interested in that, I would recommend using another service that you can then look and adjust your payments or your modals or whatever, or your payment links based on the timing. So, all right, I think that's it. Where can I get that effing sweet hat? Finsweet.com/merch, I believe. Let me see, Finsweet.com. Finsweet.com/merch. I think that's the route. Yeah. And I think that's it. I was gonna say one more thing. Oh, like the video. What are y'all doing? Okay. What are we waiting for?
Now we're done.
That's it. Okay. If you're watching this now or in the future, we appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. That really helps us with YouTube. We're here every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. It's been a blast. We'll catch y'all next week. Okay, bye.